Coming up next on Stop the Threat, in a world where the young feel confident, age and experience counts. Stupidity is on the side of the losers. Stop the Threat starts now. Hello and welcome to Stop the Threat. My name is James Towle. On today's episode, we're taking you to the state of Connecticut. Connecticut is a shall-issue state, and it has a castle doctrine. On this week's episode, which we have named Mugging Gone Wrong, we are even surprised sometimes at what we read. But let me explain one more time. These cases are real, and they are from your newspaper. Let me introduce to you this week's panel. Rob Pincus, Managing Editor of the Personal Defense Network. Kathy Jackson, author of The Cornered Cat. And Wes Doss, President of Kyber Interactive Associates. Before we go any further, though, I need to catch me up on Cornered Cat. Explain to me Cornered Cat.
It's kind of an odd title, isn't it? You know, people ask me about it all the time.
Right.
The Cornered Cat is my picture of what self-defense looks like. When a cat feels threatened, she gets away from danger as quickly as she can. She's not interested in fighting for fighting's sake, but she will do whatever it takes to get to safety. To my way of thinking, that's the ideal picture of self-defense. It's not interested in fighting. If there's trouble brewing, you avoid trouble if you can. You know, you ever have a little bit of excitement in the house and you know where the family cat is? Nowhere to be found. She's vanished. That is the ideal picture of self-defense. She's gone. But if you trap her, she's cornered.
Okay.
She'll run right over you on her way to safety.
Okay, let me ask you, is the book primarily for female shooters?
It is. It is. The book is about self-defense for women. It's especially about concealed carry for women. I start with the ethics and the morals and some of the practical issues of concealed carry, and then move forward to there talking about holsters, talking about firearms, talking about choosing your ammunition, and making the decision that your life is worth defending.
Yeah, it's really a popular book, and I know that I have a lot of women viewers who ask me for books particularly about women. They seem to feel more comfortable. Do you find that to be true? They seem to be more comfortable talking to other women? I mean, I know that you have females, and you probably do too, certainly in law enforcement that you teach. But is it just me, or is it...
There are a lot of women who are more comfortable going to a female firearms instructor, and it has been my belief the training industry has not traditionally done a good job of answering the concerns that the ordinary civilian, ordinary citizen woman brings to class with her. And that's not to say anything bad about what has traditionally happened. It is simply to say that we're seeing the ranks of women really swelling as they're coming into this field, and we need to be answering their concerns in a more robust way. I know a lot of women are more comfortable in an all-women environment, but one of the things that makes it more comfortable is that we can address those concerns directly as part of a group.
So you think that they have concerns that men do not?
Slightly different emphases, slightly different understandings of what it means to be armed, and there are some slightly different techniques. For instance, I have never heard a male firearms instructor explain to their students how to fill a magazine with long fingernails. It's a minor
that's
point.
A good point. No, that's
it's a
probably
minor
true.
point, but all of the techniques, there's something there that can be tweaked for women.
Okay. When we come back, we're going to show you part one of Mugging Gone Wrong. Welcome back to Stop the Threat. I'm going to show you part one of Mugging Gone Wrong in the state of Connecticut.
Yeah, I'll be there in a few minutes. Get a table for 4. But don't eat all the bread this time. Okay. Hey, whoa, whoa.
Give us your cell phone and all your money, bitch.
Get out of here, kid.
Okay, I think this could happen anywhere. It just happened to occur in Connecticut. We've all been somewhere on the street, and this is certainly a growing possibility in any large city. Is it a good idea to walk down at night with a cell phone in your ear and walk past 3 questionable individuals?
Probably not, but we're under the category of stuff happens. I think to some extent you have to make allowances for human behavior, and this is a very, very human behavior that you have a conversation that's happening, and maybe he didn't feel like that was that unsafe of an area, or maybe he didn't feel, you look at that group of people and say, oh, there's something questionable there, but maybe he didn't get that ping.
Yeah, I would say just based upon his personality that he saw the three people there, 3 young guys huddled around, and by his response, which was somewhat accurate according to the criminal report, he wasn't worried at all. Should he have been?
Well, I think you always want to maintain that awareness. We know that. But we also know that human behavior is what it is, and you're not always going to see things, pick up on things. Where I think he did something that wasn't optimum, at least, if not completely wrong, was in the way he responded to the confrontation.
Yeah, I like that.
Instead of just kind of flippantly blowing the kid off, putting the hands up, being defensive, sidestepping, moving out of the way, not being surrounded. There's a lot of other things he could have done instead of just, get out of here, kid.
Okay, Wes, what do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Handle it a bit more diplomatically and try and put yourself in a better position of advantage. Early on, once you recognize that suddenly things out of the blue are going south, try and get some distance between you and somebody in that group before you produce that weapon up into the middle of it.
Do you think he might have been a little bit overconfident because he was armed?
I don't know whether it was the fact of him being armed and overconfident, or the fact that that's just simply his personality trait. You've got the exposed jewelry, and he's kind of doing his thing. He's kind of having an argument or some sort of heated discussion with somebody on the phone. Who knows what his demeanor is.
So, if he had looked at the situation, would you have done the same?
Well, for me, I don't recommend being on the phone in a fringe area.
Okay.
Walking down the sidewalk on your way from someplace busy to someplace less busy, it's a classic fringe area. It's a good time to stay off the phone to keep your awareness up. This is the sort of thing that people do, but maybe it's the sort of thing they shouldn't be doing.
How about if you saw something like that and you, for some reason or other, you can't change sides of the street? Okay, let's take that one off the table. What's wrong with just pausing where you are, continue with your phone conversation, eye contact with the 3, and wait. Let's see who's going to do something first. What I didn't like about it was he kind of walked right up into the crowd. All being confident or overconfident, he immediately just kind of walks into the swarm, and there you are. If you had stopped, and of course it's easy to second guess, but they would have had to have come to you, which gives you the power, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, his bravado may have had him just totally oblivious to those guys being there in the first place.
Well, maybe he didn't see him, and then there's nothing in the report that says that he did or did not, of course, so we're kind of guessing at that point. But if we were to kind of look at it in terms of advice, I would say, one, if you can't cross the street, and then that would be the best one. I'm looking down the street, I'm on the phone, I see 3 guys that look, I'm not too sure about this. It's 3 guys, it's a street, and I got this much room, or I'm going through the middle. Let's see, maybe cross the street's a good idea. What's my rush? What do I care? Go across the street. If you can't do that, I like stopping. I like just stopping, continuing my phone conversation, and maybe even saying, hey, you know what? I'm standing on the street here. There's 3 guys in front of me, and I'm not too sure what's going to happen. Stand by, will you? All those scenarios can come up. It didn't. That wasn't the way it played. But if you were going to give advice to someone walking in a city by themselves, I think that's a couple of good pieces of advice.
All of that advice works really well if you have your awareness up. If you have
Okay,
that
if you
bubble
got your
around
awareness
you.
up, sure.
But if you don't have your awareness up, you're going to walk into situations like that. That's just the way it happens. So, it's very easy to say over and over, well, pay more attention, but the fact is, you know when you're likely to be paying attention or when you're likely not to.
Well,
And
the thing is, you don't
wanna
anticipate an ambush.
Yeah, but you want to choose when you're going to focus down on your phone conversation or when you're going to focus down on your texting. And you can choose to be in a safer time or location for most of those times when you're going to be focusing down.
If everyone was as aware as the industry says they're supposed to be, we wouldn't need any of the fighting skills because everyone would constantly be doing that. I'm willing to write all that off and say, you know what, even if you are the guy who's always focused on everything, you can't be. Like, you think you are, but you're not. You've got that side and that side. You can't watch them both. Somebody's going to ambush you, and you need to have a plan ahead of time what you're going to do when you get caught off guard, and flippantly telling the kid to get out of your way while his buddies have you surrounded probably isn't the thing you want to do.
All right, and when we come back, we'll ask Wes that same question, and I'll show you part 2. Welcome back to Stop the Threat. We've just seen part 1 of mugging gone wrong, and we've looked at how to avoid that situation. Once in the situation, did we cover the fact that he really didn't have any other choice but to pull his weapon? I mean, now they're beating on him, so he's done probably what any of us would do. Yes or no?
I think there isn't enough that's there for us to really make that determination yet. I mean, because all we're seeing is from really just a couple of angles. It seems like it went to push, then it went to pistol. And there wasn't a whole lot of exploration in terms of any other options were being explored in that, creating some distance, even fighting back a little bit. It just went right to a pistol.
Yeah, I think there was some contact.
Oh, there was definitely contact.
Yeah, I mean, there was a pushing, shoving. I think there was a couple of left and rights in there somewhere. And I think he took a couple of punches before he actually pulled the gun.
In that tight little confines, sometimes that's not the smartest thing to do is to pull that gun out in the middle of all that when these guys are all on top.
Well, that's the reason why I suggested early on, why even go into that? Let them come to you. I mean, that's how I was going with that. But let's see what part 2 shows us. And here's part 2.
Get a gun! Yeah, hello? Yeah, 3 kids just tried to mug me. I pulled my gun on them and they ran off in different directions. One of them hit me, but I think I'm all right. I'm at 1800 Heather Grove Way at... What the hell? Hey, don't move!
Hey, don't shoot.
Sit down. Down on your hands. Cross your legs. Hello? Yes, I'm all right. One of the guys came back, and I'm holding him at gunpoint. Okay, how far away are they? Okay. Seriously? Are you guys stupid? Leave the bench. Get over here by your friend. Sit on your hands. Cross your legs. You are not going to believe this.
Okay, now I started the segment by telling you that sometimes we're even surprised. Okay, this is real. This is real. So who wants to jump in on this?
Another reason not to wear flip-flops. Flip-flops are not proper footwear.
Shoes that stay on are a good thing. You might have heard me chuckling while I was watching that, because that's pretty much unbelievable that they would come back knowing that the guy was armed, thinking that they could just...
Okay, he did the right thing, though, as far as he pulls his weapon and they run. So there was no reason for him to squeeze the trigger. Okay, we're all comfortable with that, correct? Okay. Now they come back, and this leads back to a question that comes up on just about every other show. Now they come back, do you chase them off again, or do you actually try to keep them in place? Now you are filling that gap that we're always talking about, retaining the bad guy for law enforcement. Is this a good idea?
I was not comfortable with how close he was, how the proximity there. I think he should have created more distance if he wanted to go down that route at all. As a practical matter, if that's something that you envision yourself wanting to do, it might be a good idea to learn how to do it a little bit more safely.
You know, holding them for law enforcement, whether that's what his first motive was or was just simply just to put them in one place so he could keep an eye on them, I mean, that's really kind of kind of a 50-50 mix there. It's not really your place or your position to do that. It's not a bad thing to do it either, as long as everything's under control. The only thing I think that was missing, honestly, out of that segment right there was we should have dubbed the soundtrack from the Benny Hill show over that when those guys came back, because that just didn't make any sense.
It absolutely didn't. And if I didn't reread that 2 or 3 times and know that it came off the crime report, I was just shocked. As you could see, he was, and he said so to law enforcement when they arrived. He said, hey, I thought they were going to leave and never come back, and then here they keep dropping out of the trees and coming back again. So, and again, it leads back to that point where we ask ourselves, is it a good idea to try to take the law enforcement role and try to hold them for law enforcement, or does he wave the gun at them again and say, get out of here?
I think the problem is that he doesn't know what their intentions are when they come back, and there's still another one out there. So proximity is an issue. Positioning. I mean, he was focused on the one guy, kind of canted to the direction he came, and that one angle, I wasn't sure if the guy who was sneaking in was crouching to tackle the good guy, or and it turns out he was reaching for the bag. But the point being, that third guy could be sneaking up behind him right now. He's got his back to the whole world. He's obviously fixated with the gun extended on those guys sitting down. And he has now got that thing where he thinks he's aware and paying attention, but what is he not paying attention to around him? And that's the danger when you start trying to do things other than just simply defend yourself.
Yeah, I think the guy was just shocked.
Yeah.
I mean, I think if we were to give advice and he was standing there saying, okay, what should I do? Then it would probably be start backing up with the gun. And if all these things are happening, let them happen in front of me, not close to me. I guess that would be the advice we would give. But hey, who would expect that to happen? So I can't even give that advice with any confidence.
Yeah, no, I'm serious. It's a weird thing, but to have that many people being held at bay in a non-shoot set of circumstances, I mean, what are you going to do if they get up and start to come at you again, or what are you going to they get up and run away? I mean, are you carrying restraints? Are you going to handcuff these guys as in law enforcement would? How are you going to manage this if they decide they don't want to be managed any longer?
Yeah, I think there's a line. At this point, I wouldn't say he's done anything wrong. If the one kid gets up to run away, and now he's got one complying, and he's going to turn his attention to this one and tell him to stop, and we still got the third guy out there somewhere. At some point, get in your car, get in a building, put your back to the one. This people don't think it makes any sense, but here's the deal: if my back's against the wall, I'm not getting snuck up on.
Nobody's coming behind.
And instead of putting your back to the whole world and putting those guys up against the wall.
I think some people would even say that he's got himself now in a position where if anything goes wrong, somebody's going to get hurt.
Yep.
He's going to squeeze the trigger.
I think avoiding a situation where you have to shoot is always a good thing.
Okay, when we come back, I have more for you. Welcome back to Stop the Threat. We're sort of reached the end of mugging gone wrong, although I'm not sure that we've answered all the questions, and certainly we've come to the point of whether or not to try to retain the bad guy. Even as dumb as they may be, you never know what may happen. So I think we brought out a couple of good ideas in there. But I'll bet we all have stories of something like it. I'll bet you've got a dozen stories of something similar to this where the bad guys are just, I don't know, you can't account for some of the stupidity in the world, and that was some of it.
Just doesn't make sense, yeah.
Yeah, right. But I think the more important issue is the retaining part, and that we come back to all the time. Keeping the bad guy for law enforcement to arrive. I'm not going to say we should do that yet until we have a better way of doing it. And as far as I know, none of us, with you being the exception, might walk around with handcuffs. And if you're not going to have handcuffs and you can't retain them, you got to give that a lot of thought. Huh?
Yeah, and we're certainly not advocating. I don't think you're advocating that people do start carrying handcuffs.
No. No, I'm not doing that either. But I think we should sometime in the future address that. And I'd like to have you on that show, actually, from strictly a law enforcement point of view, because it comes up a lot. I get it in emails. It comes up in all the different shows that we do. So anyway, we do get a lot of emails, and I have an email here that I do want to read before the end of the show. And this is from Lewis. And Lewis is from Tennessee, and he writes, "Hello, James. I enjoy your show, and I record it so that I do not miss anything. I am a little frustrated with your panel. Seems we are supposed to lock ourselves in a bunker and just let the criminal element control our daily lives. And he wrote, quote, unquote, crawl in your hole and hide. Let them steal what they want, do what they want with no recourse. According to Mr. Pincus, whatever you do, don't shoot them. I'm going to let you address that.
I'm
What do you
glad
think?
You've been paying attention, Lewis. If someone's stealing your stuff, it's not worth getting into a gunfight over. If someone's trying to hurt you, then defend yourself. Someone's trying to hurt your family, defend yourself. Someone's trying to hurt a stranger that you see in public, you feel compelled to help them and come to their rescue. You know what? I'm not going to argue with you. You go out of your bunker, you crawl out of your hole to go hunting for bad guys so that they can have recourse, or you can get your vengeance, or you can, exert, justice on them. I think you're being foolish. So Lewis has been paying attention. I'm glad he records the show. He's got good notes, and thanks for the letter.
Yeah, well, I do thank you too, Lewis, and we appreciate any of the emails we receive. And if you do point out someone in particular in your email, we'll get them to answer that if they're not on the show, and be glad to do that. And then, like I said, we appreciate all the emails that you do send. In the last few seconds here, I want to thank Philip and Kay for going to the trouble of sending me this beautiful pen, and it has my name on it out here on the box. I want to thank them very much for that. That's very thoughtful of you. We'll see you again next week. Be safe, be trained, be alert.